Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So what we're going to look at today is it's just a welding trick, setup trick. I had plans to do a lot of woodworking projects, but work has had me doing a lot of welding, so my shop is kind of turned over to welding right now. So I thought this would be a good time to show you uh, a little technique I came up with. Um, Other people may know about this. This is just something I came up with on my own, and it has to do with, say you're working with a metal rod. This is just regular mild steel, but uh, this is 3/8, maybe 7/16 diameter rod. And let's say you've cut it just a little bit short. Maybe it broke off for whatever reason, you're trying to make it longer. So what you could do is simply put the two pieces of rod together with a square cut on each one, butt them together, and when you weld that, what you're doing is you're stacking the metal on top of the outside. Ideally, what you want to do is get that weld to penetrate all the way through this piece of metal. You can do that in a couple different ways. You can hold them gapped apart, but the problem with that is when you weld, you're using really hot metal. It's like 2,700 degrees, something like that. It's super hot and it's expanded. When it cools, it shrinks. So if you fill a gap, it will pull those pieces of metal together as it cools. If it does that unevenly, you will get warping, deformation. So one way around that is, for one, we put a chamfer on this. And that's what the chamfer looks like. Well, I better. And the chamfer has a flat spot on the end. That's called a landing. What that does is, if I put these two pieces together, they're contacting each other, but I've created a channel to get the weld down deeper into the material. So by doing that, you get full penetration on the weld. It also doesn't allow it to come together because you're never fully melting the end that's touching, so it'll never close up more than that. So that will help with the movement as it cools. The tricky part is, if I want to weld these two together and I put them in my vise, that will get them straight this way, but up and down like that, it won't do that so much. And when I have it closed up, to try to get my welding gun in there, I can get to one spot, but I can't get to the other. And if I only weld one spot, when that shrinks, it will cause these to warp and bend. So the first trick is putting your chamfer on, which you can do with, this is a regular angle grinder. It's got a grinding wheel on it. You can use a bench grinder, but mine is buried right now, so this is easier to get to. And I also mark the direction that it spins. The reason is, I want this steel to be pointing in the direction of that arrow. If it's pointing against it, that thing is spinning towards this and it can push it. And if you're standing there, it can come at you. So it's dangerous. So you always want to have this, well, whenever possible, you want to have this pointed in that same direction so that it's dragging on this and it won't kick it back at you. So you take this, and you can turn that by hand to create that chamfer. You can also, if your piece is small enough, you can chuck it into a drill. And now, I call this the one-handed lathe. Now I can start my grinder. It's going to be a little bit loud. And that will put a pretty even chamfer on it. It's a little off center, but none of that's critical for what we're doing here. Now, this is my trick. Take a piece of 90-degree angle. It was a piece of a bed frame. I'm not really sure why it was painted pink. You take that 90 And if I lay the steel in there, it rests in there and it keeps it locked in. What I've also done is cut a hole in this, and I cut that with the angle grinder with a cutoff wheel in here, and you can take it and you can cut this way, spin it around, cut that way, and cut that notch out. And what that notch allows is if I put my steel in here, now you can get to the back of that joint. So if I put this in my vise, and I take my two pieces of rod, butt my chamfered ends together over that gap, then I'll take, I'm using these spring clamps. They're not ideal. Normally I'd like a stronger clamp to hold it in place. But because I'm not putting a lot of stress on this, they work okay. Now my two pieces are clamped and they're good in two different directions. So I know that they're straight. I've got a bared piece of metal that I can clamp onto. And now with my welding gun, I'll show you the technique where I can approach this from different angles and help prevent it from moving around. Okay, so got my ground clamp, got my bare metal there. Make sure I have good contact. And as I stage this weld, I'm going to try to hit it from three sides, very similar to a three-sided jawed chuck, excuse me. So there are three different ways I can get at this. I can get to it from this side underneath, I can get to it from this side underneath, and I can get to it from the top. If I can weld those fairly quickly, I'm putting very even stresses on this and it won't bend as much. And what I usually do is I try to pick the most awkward weld and do that first. Lets me set up for it. Then I do the easier ones second and third. So this one, I would either have to step over here to weld and then step back over here to weld, which I might do. But this is the easiest, so I'll finish with the top one, and I'll probably start with this one. So that's seated nicely in there. That's seated nicely in there. The idea is I want to fill that chamfer back in and make sure that I've filled it completely so that I have the same diameter as the rod. That might be as far as you need to take it. I'm going to show you how to take this a little bit farther and clean it up so you can kind of make that weld go away. The smoother the better, you know, if you're, and I like to do this as just practice even if I don't need to. Sometimes it's nice to practice the technique on something that's not important, so when you really are concerned about it, you can get it done the right way. So let that cool for a minute. I'm going to quickly loosen it, rotate it, clip it. Tricks. I'll show you what I'm looking for. As I'm doing this, I'm looking at this line right here, and I'm trying to knock this high point down until it's in line with that. And then I rotate it, and I do it again. I look at this line, and I'm trying to grind that down, and I keep doing that. And as I work my way around, I'll gradually feather those out. And if I use the edge of the wheel and rest it like that, then I only hit the high spot and I don't hit the rod on either side until I've gotten that high spot down and it's in line with this straight line created by this edge. And I continue to do that all the way around. I've only done the grinder so far, and this is what we're looking at. This might be smooth enough for your application. If you want to take it farther than that, I finish with a file. Most people do not do this, but you can follow the curve. So ring it. And I've rotated a little bit so I can keep working a new side, a new edge. Portion. We'll call it a portion. Sorry, that sounds going to drive some people crazy. The key to this is patience. As it is with a lot of these projects, especially the more finished it needs to be, the more patient you need to be. So there you can see the finished result, and it really is pretty straight. There's a little funkiness to it, but it's passable for sure, and it's smooth enough now. I would spend more time on this if it were really a finished unit, but you can get it really smooth and really convincing and make it really hard to find where you've repaired this. So anyway, that's just a trick I use to extend some metal rod. So hope you enjoyed the video and hope you can join us again next time. Take care.